Hi, I'm Heidi with Onigo Stamping. Welcome to my craft corner. Today, I'm making Christmas cards, but I'm not using traditional Christmas pattern paper. Instead, I'm going to use the Forever Greenery Designer Series paper from Stampin Up. Normally, you put this paper with like the Forever Fern stamp set. It looks really pretty, but today, I'm going to use it to make some Christmas cards. So I'm really excited to get started. Before I do though, if you have any questions or need help ordering Stampin' Up! Product, I'd love to help you with that. Go ahead and leave me a comment or send me an email. Let me know how I can help you. All of the dimensions, more photos, and links to a supply list are available on my website, and you'll find the link to my website in the description to this video. If you like the video, please make sure that you share it with your friends, like, and subscribe to my channel. Okay, Onigo! Let's get stamping. Today's cards feature the absolutely gorgeous Forever Greenery Designer Series paper. This paper is all sorts of different greens, just jade, soft seafoam, garden green, old olive, pretty peacock is in there as well. It's an absolutely beautiful set of leaves. And then on the other side, you have a whole lot of patterns. So it's just gorgeous. And that one's flipped over, obviously. But it's absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous paper, and it works so well with the Forever Fern stamp set. But today, I'm making Christmas cards. So I'm going to be using the Poinsettia Petals stamp set for this first card. And you need a few pieces of paper. You want a piece of the Striped Designer Series paper that is 1 3/4 by 5 1/4. A piece of mint macaron cardstock that is 5 1/4 by 4 inches, and a piece of just jade cardstock that is 5 1/4 by 4 inches, and then your card base, which is going to be just jade and is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 inches, and then scored at 4 1/4. And we can just start by folding that in half, getting it a nice fold, and having our card base ready to go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with some stamping. And I have some scrap paper. I have some scrap mint macaron and some scrap white. And you can see I've already cut my sample pieces out of this. And I have some Memento ink. So the first thing I will do is I am stamping the 3 kind of poinsettia pieces with Memento ink on Whisper White cardstock. These. One, so that's the biggest one. And then I want to also do the medium-sized one. And I want to do the small one. So all 3 of those. While I have my ink pad out, let's go ahead and stamp the leaves too. So I have the larger of the leaves, and I'm going to stamp this again 3 times on my piece of scrap mint macaron with Memento ink again. So 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to color these in and cut them out. For the leaves, I really wanted Just Jade. I don't own a Just Jade Stampin' Blend. So I was kind of sad because I wanted it to be Just Jade and mint macaron. So instead, I grabbed my Dark Pool Party. And I'm going to use this to color. And you'll see as it fades, it really just turns it a little bit darker green, which I think matches pretty well. And I just did this by looking at the difference in the colors and thinking, well, this is kind of a blue green. Maybe this blue green marker will give it a darker tone that I'm looking for. So I would just go through and I'm going to color each of those. When you're coloring with the Stampin' Blends and you're trying to layer and get more intense color, you want to go ahead and let it dry for just a moment. Let that the alcohol and the markers evaporate, because otherwise you're not adding additional color, you're just adding more liquid. It will stay the same color. But then you can see this one is kind of evaporated already, so I can come back in here and add a little bit more again, and then this will help intensify the color. And I would do that with all 3 of those leaves. When the 3 leaves are done, I'm going to use the poinsettia dies that match, and I'm going to cut those out. So I'm going to set this aside, and you can see my 3 leaves that have all been kind of shaded and are cut out and ready to go. For the poinsettias, I'm starting with the dark petal pink, and I'm just going to color. I'm going to do most of this and just leave some little white spots, but kind of do most of it. Again, you want to let it sit for a moment, let the color dry before you switch colors to a second color. So I'm just coloring, you know, where there's lines, where the veins are, where there's extra shading, and doing quite a bit. And I would do that for all 3. When you're done, you can use the light petal pink and just come back in and color over the whole thing with the light petal pink to add a real light pink color where any white spots are left. Then I decided I wanted an even more intense pink. So I grabbed my dark Flirty Flamingo, and I am very, very gently going to just add in some light lines just on, you know, just where the vein marks are that are stamped on there. Not too much, not as much as we did with the dark petal pink, but just enough to kind of give it a little bit extra, an extra punch. So, and I like to, when I'm trying to work kind of finely, I do pivot my paper there so that I can get my pen going in the right direction. So I colored all 3 of my poinsettias just like that. And then again, I'm going to cut these out with the poinsettia dies. And then I'll show you what these look like. So here's my 3 poinsettias that have been colored and cut and are all ready to go. Now we start assembling. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to grab the piece of 5 1/4 by 4 inch Just Jade cardstock. And to this, I'm going to adhere this piece of designer series paper. Just like that. Then I'm going to use this basket weave. What is it? Basket weave mint macaron ribbon, and it comes in a 2-pack with a copper metallic. I'm not going to use this copper metallic on this card, but normally it comes in a 2-pack with this copper metallic. So I want to use this mint macaron. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this around my card, and then I'm going to leave a fair amount because it's a little bit challenging to tie and not lose bits. So I'm just going to snip off the front there. So there we go. And I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to grab my Stampin' Seal Plus, and on the back of my card, where this ribbon is going to be, I'm just going to put down a strip. So then this will help hold it in place while we're working with it. Give it a little bit more stability. So I'll just come back and wrap that around the front. You can see it's stuck on there in the back, and hopefully my paper doesn't stick while we're sitting here. So now I have the gold cord. This is from the Flower Forever Seasons. No. This is from a combo pack, and I can't remember the name of the combo pack, but it is absolutely gorgeous, and it comes with like this soft kind of gauzy ribbon, and it's in the annual catalog, I believe. See, I can't remember things anymore. I want to grab a fair chunk of this, right? So I have a good amount, and I'm doubling it. With this cord, what I always like to do, yeah, I just made a mess over here in my stamp space. I like to take a piece of Scotch tape, and I'll just stick that on the end and fold it over. And then with my snips, I will cut this right through the center. And this is just because this cord ravels, which is really pretty. We'll cut this off at the end, and you'll have this kind of raveled end to it. But when it's on your roll, you don't want it to unravel. So I like to put the tape on there, and it helps keep it from unraveling. Now, I'm going to slide this underneath, and we're just going to tie together these two ends. This is the a little bit tricky bit. So pull these, kind of hold them down, and pull the center. That gets us a pretty tight ribbon across the front there. Now I'm just going to make a double bow. Remember, I have 2 strands, so, and I want to make the loops pretty long. This is going to be a pretty loopy thing because we're going to put something over top of it, and we want the loops to stick out the end. So there you go. And then I will cut the ends, and now I'll cut off those taped ends, and we'll watch it. It'll fray. I might cut this down a little bit more once I get it all put together. So there's the ribbon. Then I want to put in my leaves. I'm going to start by putting one over here. And I'm going to grab 2 more and stick those over here. Kind of scooch this stuff out of the way and slide the leaves up underneath that ribbon. A little bit, and we'll put the third one in here too. So just like that. Now we want to put on the biggest poinsettia. With this big poinsettia, we're going to use Stampin' Dimensionals. It's going to go right in here, right next to the bow. But you can see that that knot is pretty thick. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put a double layer of dimensionals on the back of here to help hold it up so that it can safely, so that it's well supported behind there. So I'm going to take my Stampin' Dimensionals, and I will put 2 of these on. So I'm just peeling off that back and then adding a second one right over top. And I will do this on each of the leaves. So now I have a double layer of dimensionals on the back of here, and I'm just going to check and make sure that that is going to give me the right amount of lift and stability. I think so. So I think that my ribbon maybe should have been a little bit further over, but I think it will be okay as we get this all built up. So there's that. Then we'll just take off the back and we'll adhere these down. Take off all those backs. Normally I put something in the middle of my poinsettias, and a lot of times I'll kind of give them, I'll fold them and give them dimension, but on this, because it is so thick, I am not going to do that. I just want to make sure my ribbons are all kind of doing what I want them to do, because I'll likely catch a couple ribbon pieces of the ribbon in here. So there is my first base of my poinsettia, and you can see, yep, I've caught some of that ribbon in there. It's okay. Then we'll come in with the second one, and this one I'm just going to take some mini glue dots. Now normally the mini glue dots come on a roll, but this is some that came with a paper pumpkin or a kit or something. I like them, they're on a sheet. It's kind of nice. And I'm just sticking 2 of these in the center. And we'll just put down this medium-sized one in the middle there. And then I'll put down the small one. Oops, I took that whole dimensional right off. So again, just putting 2 dimensionals on the back of this. You can kind of see where they are. Oops. And then this will add kind of offset as well. So there's our poinsettia. Get this all fluffed out how we want it. What I want to do now, so this is a little bit different. This was kind of a happy accident that I came across earlier today. I am going to trim around, kind of fussy cut around the top edge of my poinsettia. So leaving kind of almost like 1/8 of an inch border around these things. And it does not have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to really be close to perfect. This is just going to give it kind of a shadow look to it when it's on the card front. We're going to come around the leaf as well. It's a little bit easier around the leaf just because the leaf is stuck directly to the Just Jade cardstock, whereas the flowers really lifted up there. So it is just a kind of a delicate little process here. I'm going to come in here, go around the leaf on this side too. Like I said, it does not have to be perfect. So there we go, just like that. Now, I'm going to lay this on the piece of mint macaron where it's going to go, and then I'm going to do my stamping. And this is how this came about, is because I did this morning, and I was going to do all Just Jade back there, and then I messed up the stamping, and I was like, well, let's cut this and see what happens. Now for the greeting, I'm actually going to grab my black StazOn. I find sometimes that when I'm stamping, you have to use the Memento ink to use your Stampin' Blends, but sometimes I find that my StazOn gives a much darker black. So I like to use it. So I'm just going to come up here towards the top. Try not to get my head in here. So this is a little tricky to get just right where I want it. Now I didn't adhere it first so that if I messed up, I could totally come in and I could flip over my piece of paper and try again. So, yeah, I kind of like that. I wish that the flower was a little bit more over to the side so I could bring the greeting down a little bit. But that's not possible. So we're going to go with what we have. Yeah. And I'm going to take, and now I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal Plus and really stick this down. Now, unfortunately, the Stampin' Seal Plus will not go on the ribbon. It will not stick to it. Like, it just rolls right past it. So, because I'd really like to just stick a whole strip of Stampin' Seal Plus on the back of that ribbon. But you'll see if I do this, it doesn't do anything. It just stays in the carton. So, put that on there. And then this gets adhered right to my card front. Now let's trim up the edges. See, and this is where, so I'm going to take some liquid adhesive. I'm going to inject it over here just to try to get this corner to stick down. I'm going to hold it. I'm going to hold this while I try to talk about trimming off my edges. So I want to trim up my edges. I'm going to trim off the basket weave at an angle over here. And I'm going to come in here and trim this up a little bit too. Unfortunately, the ends of these scissors, I need to get new fabric scissors because the ends have have cut something that they shouldn't have cut. And now they don't work so well. So cut all this metallic ribbon right off. That's still, all right, so that's popping up. You'd want to hold that down. And you can see how this cord has just frayed over here, which is really, really, I think it's pretty. I love the way that it just kind of gives you kind of a whole full fuzziness. I almost forgot, we got to put in the centers to our poinsettia. So I have the metallic gold pearls, and I'm just going to add these right to the center of my poinsettia where the circles are, basically. Just going to stick them right in the center of those circles. I like to use the Take Your Pick tool for this because I find it's easier to set the pearls where I want them. I like these gold metallic pearls because they match with the gold thread. Oh, that one did not stick. There we go. So then this just goes on our card base. Did you remember we still had a card base sitting here? I'll just put some adhesive on the back here. And we'll adhere that to the front. Then I want to make an inside for my card. So I have a piece of 5 1/4 by 4 inch Whisper white cardstock, and I want to put some designer series paper on here, which, if you remember earlier, fell on my floor. All right, so let me just grab, I have a bunch of scraps of this in here, so let me grab one of those. There we go. And I'm just going to put this along the bottom on the inside, just to match. Let's see, I think it's the right length. Yep. It's close. Adhere that to the front, and then we'll stick this on the inside. And there is my first Forever Greenery Christmas card. My second Forever Greenery Christmas card also uses the Poinsettia Petals stamp set. However, this is primarily a paper piecing card, which means we're going to cut some shapes and piece them together. So for that, I'm using the Stitched Triangles die set. I love the stitched triangles. They're just really fun shapes to play with. There's different shapes of triangles, and I don't remember all the names of the triangles. Yeah, but you want to use these triangles that look like Christmas trees. They're Christmas tree shaped triangles, right? And I pulled out 3 of the Forever Greenery Designer Series paper patterns, and I'm going to cut these out with the triangles. And the ones that I'm choosing are the second to largest, and then the next, those 3, like, so the next 2 down from that. So you don't want to use the largest one or the 2 smallest ones. You want to grab the other 3, and it's these triangles that look like Christmas trees. So I'm going to start by cutting these out. I'm grabbing my magnetic platform with a cutting plate on it. Now, I always tell people, one of the things that people have trouble with is their cutting plates getting really warped. And you can see mine is very well used. It is pretty flat though. To keep your cutting plates flat, you want to always choose one plate to be the bottom, and you can see the difference. Here's my bottom plate, here's my top plate. So one plate should be the bottom. And what I have found to be the most useful is you always want to make sure, so kind of the tendency is here, I'm going to stick this in the middle of my cutting plate and I'm going to cut it, right? Well, if you keep cutting right here in the middle, that is definitely going to start warping your plate. If you try to cut more towards the outside as much as you can, it's going to help keep your plates flatter. The other thing is that when it starts to bend a little bit, you want to flip it over. So I don't do it every cut, but every few cuts I notice that it's starting to get a little warpy, and I will just flip it over and do it on the other side. So I have this first one, and this is actually, I want those leaves to go down on my tree. So while it would fit better going the other way on this piece of paper, I'm actually going to put it this way so that the branches go downward. And then let's see if I can get all of my pieces kind of lined up here without overlapping, because I don't want to accidentally cut the other piece underneath. But it's nice when you can get all your shapes kind of on the same piece of paper, right? Like, or on the cutting plate at the same time. And then I have the third one, and it can stick off the edge like that. That's fine. Not going to cause a problem. So got those all on there. I'm going to put the top plate on, and then I'll run this through my die cut machine. Okay, let's look at our 3 triangles. So here are our 3 beautiful, pretty triangles that are going to be Christmas trees. If you hadn't figured that out, set my scrap to the side. The other thing I want to do, so I have some other pieces of paper here that I will show you. And I have a piece, the dimensions written down. So I have a piece that is 3 1/4 inch by 4 1/4 inch, which is this one. And this one we are going to emboss. And then I have a piece that is 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. And then a piece of thick Whisper White cardstock that's 8 1/2 by 5 1/2 scored at 4 1/4. And this will be the card base. And then another small piece that is 3/4 inch by 3 1/2 inch. So let's go ahead and let's put some texture on this. I'm using the Wrapped and Textured embossing folder. This is a 2-pack of these kind of skinny embossing folders. They're going to go in the mini cut and emboss machine once we get it. And so I'm using one of that. They come in a 2-pack. This is, of course, in the mini catalog. And I'm going to use it on this small piece of paper. So I'll try to get this in here so it fits. It's just perfect sized. Put the top on, and then I will crank this through. So here is my embossed piece of Whisper White cardstock. Isn't that pretty? Has some nice dots on it. Gives it nice texture. So let's just assemble this card. Oh, you know what? Let's do the stamping first. There's a little bit of stamping we're going to do. I have this small 3/4 inch wide, and I'm going to grab my Just Jade ink pad. And then I have the Merry Christmas stamp that is in the Poinsettia Petals stamp set. And I just want to stamp this right on this small strip of white. And it doesn't matter if it's not evenly spaced top and bottom, because what we will do is we are going to fussy cut this. So just follow along. It doesn't have to be, you don't even want it super close. You just kind of want to give it a bubble look. Remember when you were maybe in junior high and there was a big thing, you know, everybody wrote in bubble letters, right? You'd write something and then you'd bubble around it to make bubble letters. This is kind of the same concept, but I'm doing it with scissors. So I make this a bubble letter cutout. You can see when I cut, I often will hold the scissors pretty straight and just move the paper. Just like that, we have our Merry Christmas cut out. Now we can start assembling this card. This is really a quick and easy card. So I'll start by folding my card base in half on the score line. I'll give that a nice crease with my bone folder. I love the thick Whisper White cardstock. It's really great for making card bases. Gives it a little bit more strength than the regular Whisper White. And then I'm going to glue on this piece of textured Whisper White cardstock. Going to go kind of across, not exactly in the middle, kind of, you know, towards the top of the middle. So just like that. Then I'm going to take this other piece of 4 3/4 by 3 1/2, and all of these dimensions will be available on my website. And I want to glue my Christmas trees down. I'm going to kind of make a cluster of Christmas trees. So there's one. Try to get my Christmas tree straight. It's just like regular Christmas trees, right? You can't ever get them straight. You sit there and you walk around going, is that straight? It's the same thing with paper ones. You'd think it would be easier, but that's not always the case. All right, so there's the second one. Then we're going to put the third one in between. Move that one over just a little bit. And then there's my third one. All right, let's get some embellishments going. So just like the other one, I want to add a little bit of ribbon to this. Now I'm using that copper cord that comes with the mint macaron basket weave. And I'm just going to tie a bow. So let me show you that again. I just make a loop. Right? I just make a loop. And I hold the loop and wrap around it. And then push that through. And then it kind of helps to hold the ends a little bit while you're pulling it so that it doesn't pull all one direction. Let's see. Let's try this out. This is going to go here. It's maybe a little bit too long and loopy. Let's pull it back. So we're going to set that there, and then the Merry Christmas is going to go right over top of it. Actually, I'm gonna pull that in just a little bit more. And again, I'm gonna attach this with a mini glue dot. I don't know why, I just pulled that whole glue dot off. So normally they stay on the sheet, but they keep coming off today. And I'm just gonna stick this over here just a little bit sideways. And we will put this Merry Christmas right over the top of it. So let's get some mini Stampin' Dimensionals. Grab my minis. And put some, you want to kind of leave the center open because that's where the knot to that bow is going to be. I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool because, again, sometimes it's easier to get these right where you want them, especially when it's such a small area. And then I want to grab kind of a little half, a tiny little half a half one. I'm going to try to put right down here on the end of the M just to kind of hold it up, but might be hard to get in there. Let's see. All right, there we go. So let's make sure these are where we want them. Yep. So this will glue, we'll stick this down right here. I always like to test it first because you don't want to get a mini glue dot right over the top of where that knot is, or it will, your greeting will be all lumpy. It'll be way too high in the center. And that is not what we want. So try to center this as best we can. And then stick that right on there. There we go. Trim up the edges of my ribbon. And then we'll use some regular sized, if I can find. Things disappear on me all the time. Here we go. We'll grab some regular dimensionals. I'm going to use a bunch because I found when I was doing the sample, this one really, because it's that Whisper White cardstock, it just wants to kind of fall down. Maybe I should have used the thick white cardstock on this part. But instead, I'm just going to use a lot of dimensionals. This is going to go on my card front. Just like that. And now just a little bit more bling. I don't know if you've seen these. These are in the annual catalog and they're just these copper star elements. I have one more on this one and then we'll grab from I have a second sheet here. And I'm going to add these to the top. They're so shiny and pretty. I love them. They're great for the tops of your Christmas trees. Really, really make it look like Christmas trees. So there is my second Forever Greenery Christmas card. Let me show you the first one and the second one together. Aren't those fun? So this just goes to show that sometimes you don't always need a Christmas pattern paper to make beautiful Christmas cards. Thank you so much for joining me today. Weren't those fabulous Christmas cards? It's so much fun to take a pattern paper and use it for something a little bit different. If you enjoyed the video today, please make sure that you share it with your friends, subscribe to my channel, and come on back for more tips, techniques, and inspiration. Until next time, bye-bye.